Bobby, your take on all the penalties?
I mean, I get it's preseason, and I get that, there's a lot of young guys in there, a lot of guys on this team who aren't going to be playing in the NFL this season. And so I understand that context, and it's important to view that context, but still, nobody else is getting 17 penalties in the preseason. And you go from the last time we saw you on the football field against San Francisco, 14 penalties there in that game, to continued issues with it. And it's not just guys that are nobodies. It's Kelvin Joseph being offsides on a field goal. It's Terrell Basham with, a roughing the passer that's just inexcusable. Some of them were a little, ticky-tack. Yeah, like Sam Williams, I don't know what he's supposed to do when he's taking his final step and he hits Brett Rippon. I don't know how he's supposed to avoid roughing the quarterback there. Or, one of the Tyler Smith holds looked a little, ticky-tack. But overall, I mean, this wasn't just young players. It was veteran players that are supposed to know what they're doing that were committing these penalties too. So it's troubling, and it's something that they got to work out. It's something that they've told us they've been working on all offseason as their top priority, and it didn't look like it on Saturday night.
How do you divide blame between coaches and players for penalties?
I think it's mostly on players, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, when you're raising children, and if children are behaving a certain way or they grow up to have certain characteristics, it's like, okay, well, how much are you doing to guide them down the right path? How much are you doing to make sure that they don't grow up this way? And I think that that's sort of the same way that you look at the coaching staff, is that ultimately the players are responsible for the penalties, but it comes down to how disciplined this football team is because of the coaching staff and how prepared they are for game day, whether it be, a pass interference call because they get out of position and so they start grabbing a jersey, not being able to stay disciplined and stay in position for that. That comes down to coaching. Lining up off sides, that's a low IQ type of thing that this coaching staff should have prepared them for. So depending on the penalty, it can vary, and ultimately I think probably the players are the ones who have to be responsible for it. But also at the same time, these coaches have to have a more disciplined football team. How
can you punish players in today's NFL when it comes to this? If you fine them, you're going to deal with the NFLPA. You can't bench them for too long because you're in a salary cap league in a win-now situation. How can you discipline guys for this or police them?
Yeah, I guess what I mean by that is, in terms of discipline, is just, coaching them to be a disciplined football team, not necessarily disciplined directly, but I mean, you can discipline them obviously with the play time. If they keep causing penalties, you bench them, the same way you would if somebody was fumbling a lot or something like that. The players themselves, they'll have accountability in a lot of respects. I know the defensive line, for instance, if you jump off sides, like, they will fine you. The players will. And so, like, the D-line room has fines for things during the practice week and things that happen on game day, and I think the largest penalty you can get in their fine room is for lining up off sides. And so they'll penalize players, their pocketbook as kind of a kangaroo court. And so some accountability comes from the players, but on the coaching staff, I think it comes in playtime and opportunity, and that's how you get that discipline out of them.
All right. Bobby Belt, join us here, 105 through the Fan. I've let this slander go on long enough.
Yes. Sorry.
This slander. Okay.
He benched Connor Williams last year, and then he cut him.
No, he didn't.
Did he not bench him in the middle of the season last year?
No, he did not.
He didn't get
Joe
benched?
Philbin did. Joe Philbin.
I mean, Jesus Christ, Bobby. I mean, it's the same damn thing.
What about him? He died for your sins, Choppy.
Huh?
I think it was
it's the same thing.
JC reference.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. One person was responsible. No, I can't.
He's
pick
the
and
head
choose
coach.
Okay,
if
but Choppy,
S runs downhill to him, then it has to run uphill too. Like, he gets credit and blame. At the end of the day, he gets credit and blame for everything. It's not like, so what happened in Green Bay? Mike McCarthy's teams, last 6 years of Green Bay, Sean, ranked 18th, 25th, 23rd, 16th, 26th, 25th. That's really good. In penalties. He wasn't penalized there. His players are morons. It's on the players. It ain't on him.
Well, I mean, is he not, okay, if you want to talk about it running uphill, is he not responsible for the types of players that they bring in? I mean, at what point do you say that he's, but I mean, this is like year 3 here. He should have, a decent grasp on what players he has here in the building. And McCarthy has a terrible history I wrote about this back in February. I actually tweeted it again over the weekend. He has a terrible history of just alleviating the responsibility when it comes to the officials. He frequently has complained at a level that almost no other head coach across the NFL has about blaming officials for the failures of his team. And so, I think that.
But we know
sure,
he's emphasized it, right? We assume he's not lying. He talked about emphasizing it last year. We know off season. He's probably done it this year. So we know it's not for lack of emphasis, right?
I mean, he also told us that, he went in a barn and watched tape with PFF and totally changed the way he viewed football. So, and then got up there in his first press conference and said, "Haha, just kidding." Was totally lying about that. So, I mean, I don't know that he's being totally upfront about that. And look, some of those dumb penalties, the ones that I mentioned, the offsides and the roughing the quarterback, those are defensive penalties, and that's probably more a Dan Quinn thing. And we know that Dan Quinn doesn't lack discipline. So
but we like Dan Quinn, so it can't be his fault. We don't like Mike McCarthy, so it has to be his fault.
I brought up Dan Quinn on my own, Chop. I just said
I know.
Dan
I'm just
Quinn
saying, like in general, like the fans.
No, I know. Yes, we do like.
Yeah, they're gonna give the credit to the coach or the player they like, and the blame to the coach or the player they don't. That's the way it is. Like Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown's never gonna get credit because people don't like him.
Agreed. But I mean, I think it's that whole adage, like the first rule of leadership: everything's your fault. And that's what it comes down to. And McCarthy is over. Look, if McCarthy's not going to be calling plays, if McCarthy's not installing the offense, if he's not doing these things, it's the same thing we did with Jason Garrett. It's like, okay, well, we got to. These are the markers for you. Then this is what you're responsible for. You're responsible for the culture, the in-game decisions, the discipline of the football team. Those are the things that he's going to be responsible for. So those are the things that we need to grade him by. And it's 2.5 years in, or 2 years and a preseason game in, and those are failing grades for the most part.